So, what would be ethical use of AI in your academic work? Well, this is what's allowed in this class. You can use it for brainstorming, the initial process, things like discovering topics, key terms, looking for possible directions. You can use it like in consultation to, get direction, ask it to basically be like a teacher or an advisor giving you feedbacks to inform your process, to guide your process. But it shouldn't be used solely for the production of your work, right? And the upside of that is it's super fast. It can give you immediate answers, immediate feedback. It can give you immediate ideas, and it's going to produce a lot of those ideas. The downside is once you go there, you might be tempted to cheat, get lazy, just go ahead and generate your entire essay or speech with the chat GPT because you know it's possible to do something like that. Also, it produces the lowest common denominator of outcomes. In that previous study I talked about where there were the three different groups of essay writers, the essays that were produced by the group that used large language models, the researchers said those essays were homogeneous. They used similar words. They talked about similar topics. They cited similar information. And I see this all the time, actually. I'm starting to see that students who are using AI to discover topics I'm getting a lot of the same topics. So if you've gone to AI, for example, to help you brainstorm topics for our informative speech on art, aesthetics, and creativity, I almost guarantee you it's told you to look for the ways in which that art or music can make you feel emotions, right? I'm telling you, you probably have that. And I'm seeing that topic, that thesis statement is like something like 20 out of 80 proposals for that speech is that particular topic. And I've never seen that before in the years prior to the introduction of ChatGPT. So I'm almost positive students are using ChatGPT to do their brainstorming, and it's giving them kind of the most basic and common answers. It also robs you of serendipity, just going out there and reading stuff, going to the library, looking through books, doing what we used to call surfing the web and seeing where it takes you. When you just type it in and take whatever it gives you, you're kind of robbing yourself of some of the discovery and the fun of it. And doing this, you might have to reverse research. You find a fact using ChatGPT. Now you need to go find a source that you can use that verifies that fact. So it kind of reverses the research process, and it could be just as time consuming in the end if you're actually doing good work. You can use it to improve the readability of your text, to edit your text. The upside of that is it's efficient, it's thorough, it's quick. The problem, though, the downside is that you can lose your voice, right? And so if you are using something like ChatGPT or another LLM, I did this with I've been writing a short story, and I don't want it to change my writing. I'm doing creative writing, and part of the creative writing is that it should be, something novel, something inventive. It should be in my own author's voice. So I use a prompt something like this: keep my language choices, sentence structure, and original voice, edit for grammar and errors. And then I have it list all of the changes that it's making so that I can go through and make sure that it's not making significant alterations. And if you do something like that in a prompt, you'll be able to find misspellings and maybe missing commas and stuff like that without changing the voice, and then you likely won't trigger the AI detection. If you use something like Grammarly or ChatGPT and it significantly alters your voice, your sentence structure, your word choice, you're probably going to get detected for AI usage. It's going to bring some added scrutiny to your work. And then, of course, you better have some good sources that are real backing up your information. You better be using citations. So the downside is you lose your voice. I warn you against using Grammarly. It has a tendency to go way overboard in rewriting your work. It's going to, again, give you the temptation to cheat when you're using these tools. You'll not develop some of the basic writing skills if you're just kind of writing a really rough draft and not doing any editing, you could lose out on, some basic skills that we hope students have when it comes to writing. Could trip the eye detection, and it's just not necessary. I'm not grading grammar very closely in this class, so you could be doing it and subjecting yourself to scrutiny for no reason. Here's unethical use of AI for academic work and in this class. Claiming writing and ideas that was generated by AI as your own. You're copy pasting it over. You're using ChatGPT to generate writing that you're then claiming and saying is your own. Now, there are ways to cite ChatGPT, but I'm not accepting that in this class. I don't consider ChatGPT to be a credible source of information. And so if you're finding a fact, you need to use that fact to then go find an actual credible source that can verify that fact. So don't copy paste directly from ChatGPT. Don't paraphrase. Don't put in your own words things you found from ChatGPT. That's also considered cheating. When you are making fact claims beyond common knowledge and you're not using sources, you're being unethical, right? So common knowledge is well-known information, widely available to most people. Thanksgiving is traditionally held on the fourth Thursday in November. You don't need a citation for that. Jesus Christ is an important religious figure. A lot of people know that. Enough know it that it's reasonable to think that that's common knowledge you already have. Oscar Goodman was once the mayor of Las Vegas. Again, common local knowledge. You don't need a site for that. Specific data points, trivia, more lesser known, specific pieces of information that it's not likely a person would go, yeah, I know that, then that needs a citation, right? Don't use this to fabricate sources that don't really exist, and don't use it to cite sources or to paraphrase about sources that you have not read. Anything that goes in your article, in your outline, needs to be something you read. And so here are the guidelines then for research in this class. To know you're doing well, to know you are AI proof. If you are being accused of using AI, you must have possession of the sources that you are citing. Do you own it? Did you borrow it? Do you have it on file? Do you have a link to the entire thing? If I come looking for it, you need to be able to provide it to me. If I go searching for it, it ought to exist. I ought to be able to find it. If you can find it, I should be able to find it. And I might ask you for it, okay? So just be sure that you're actually citing things you possess. If you have just the abstract, just the beginning part of an article, you don't have the whole article. You can't cite that article. So abstracts or summaries of articles don't count. You need to get the full article, read the full article. If your teacher asks for a source, you'll need to give it to them. And I may ask you to do that. You got to read it. You need to read it. Don't feed it into a large language model. Don't feed it into ChatGPT and have ChatGPT analyze it, interpret it, and then write your speech. You read it. You figure out what information from that thing you want to either quote or paraphrase, and then you do the proper citational work to quote and paraphrase from that source in your outline. Be able to show your work. One of the best ways you can AI proof or false accusation proof yourself is to take notes, to record your entire process, to have artifacts of your process. Did you highlight the texts in the PDF text? Did you leave notes? Did you create an annotated bibliography, which I've talked about in a previous video? Did you copy and paste key quotes over into a Word document? When you are doing your Google Docs or your Word document, it would be a great idea to track changes and to make sure that you're saving previous version histories, to use one document from the beginning of your process so that you can show over multiple days you've built, you've constructed. You didn't just in a single copy paste, boom, create your outline. Do those things and you will be AI proof. And anybody who's turning in work for your classes and claiming it as your own, You ought to be able to talk about it. You ought to have knowledge of the things that you are citing. So if I come asking questions, you should be able to explain what you've done. So those are some of the ethical guidelines, some of the unethical things that people do, and some of the kind of more practical guidelines you should follow as you're doing speech 2 and 3. You do these things, you avoid using ChatGPT to generate content for your speeches, and you should be all good. Remember, I can help you. CSN librarians can help you. CSN tutors can help you. If you're waiting to the last minute and you're going to the artificial intelligence to produce your work, you're taking a huge risk. You're likely to be caught, and the consequences could be quite severe. So please, 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 don't do that. Human to human, I beg you, don't do that. Save it for later, for other parts of your life, but not for your education. Thank you.